Any reproduction of this training video, in part or in whole, is unlawful and strictly prohibited without the prior written consent of ViaGrafix Corporation. Included with your videotape is a course index. This contains reference numbers which will allow you to quickly access sections and topics with ease. In order to use this, you should reset the counter on your VCR to 0 now.
The Teach Yourself series from ViaGrafix, designed to teach you to use your computer the fast and easy way.
I'm Bruce Wood, along with Paula Kennedy.
Microsoft Outlook has become one of the most popular electronic mailing or emailing applications on the market.
In fact, Outlook is quickly becoming the preferred information manager for computer telephony, universal inbox, and Salesforce automation services.
In this tutorial, we'll focus on the emailing features of Outlook 98 Express.
After learning the lessons in this tutorial, you'll be able to use Outlook 98 to send, receive, and reply to electronic mail.
You'll be able to attach files to email, open files that came with mail you've received, and you'll know what to do with the mail you've already read, whether that is to delete the message or organize it, and much, much more. In this tutorial, we'll refer to the pre-constructed sample files called the learning files. To help you learn the material more easily, we suggest you download these files and use them for practice as you follow along with the exercises.
Keep in mind that these learning files can only be used within the application.
The learning files can be downloaded from the ViaGrafix website at www.viagrafix.com/files/o/outlook_98. We suggest saving these files to the desktop for easy access.
In this chapter, we are going to view and discuss Outlook's email features so we can prepare ourselves to send our first message. But let's get started with some fundamental concepts for email.
When we set up Outlook for use, we will choose between a POP server account or an IMAP server account. POP stands for Post Office Protocol. With this POP, mail is transferred over the Internet. IMAP stands for Internet Message Access Protocol. POP and IMAP are protocols that are both used for retrieving messages from the Internet. Now let's understand how email works. For our basic understanding of it, all we need is a computer with an email application, a modem or a network connection, and an account for our mail to go to. Email works like this. We write a message from within our email application, which is technically referred to as our mail client. Then we send the message from our mail client, which is Outlook Express in our case. The messages go to our mail server. The mail server is like the post office for email. This is where our mail is sent, then forwarded to the right place or places if we're sending mail to more than one address. Anyone who offers Internet service should also offer the services of their mail server.
Now that we understand how email works, let's gain an understanding of the components of the Outlook window.
We can open Outlook by double-clicking Mail from the desktop. Because we've already set up Mail, using Outlook, the Outlook window now appears. Let's take a moment to become familiar with the components of this window. At the top, we see the menu bar. At the very left is the Apple menu, followed by menus with commands. We can open any of the menus by clicking on the one we'd like to open. For example, we'll open the File menu. With this menu open, we see several commands below. Menus are the structure that organizes the commands we'll use to perform various tasks. For now, let's close this menu by clicking the menu bar. Because the Scripts menu looks different from the other menus, let's take a moment to understand it. We click its icon and its menu appears just like any other menu. However, because the nature of this menu is different from the others, we have a command called About This Menu. Out of curiosity, let's click this command. A dialog appears informing us that this menu contains scripts to extend the functionality of Outlook Express. We save compiled scripts in the Script Menu Items folder for them to appear in the menu. To close this dialog box, we click its OK button. Below the menu bar, we see the title bar for Outlook, followed by the Outlook bar. This toolbar contains tools that we can click to quickly select a command. So while we use Outlook, it is our option to select a command through the menu or a toolbar, because any command can be accessed from a toolbar. Notice that as we pass our pointer over these tools, a tool tip that explains the function of the tool is displayed. Down the left side of the window is the folder list. It contains folders to help us organize our mail messages. If we're using an IMAP server, we may see a folder for it as well. The right panes of the Outlook window look and behave differently depending on the folder that is selected from the folder list. With Inbox selected, notice that the folder banner on the right shows Inbox. The folder list is the key to using Outlook because these folders dictate how we use Outlook at that moment. To grasp this concept better, we'll go down the list of folders and explain how each one works. Right now, the Inbox is selected. The Inbox displays the mail we've received. It stores our incoming messages and gives us the ability to send and receive messages from the office, home, or the road. When the Inbox is selected, we see the Inbox at the top of the window with a list of these messages. The box in the lower section of our window will display the message itself when we have one selected. Depending on how your computer is set up, you may have two inboxes. If you do, the folder at the top of the folder list is your local inbox containing mail from your POP server. While we're looking at the inbox, we want to make a point to label the contents of the right pane because these will remain constant through many of the other folder views that we see. The list in the top pane on the right is the Information Viewer. Since the inbox is currently open, the viewer displays any items that may be contained in this folder. Also, notice the area below this Information Viewer. This is called the Preview pane. It allows us to view the entire contents of a message and also enables us to read the message without having to open it in a separate window. We can show or hide the Preview pane feature by opening the View menu and selecting this option. Notice that without the Preview pane, we'd have a longer area to display the list of messages in the Information Viewer. To view the Preview pane, we'll open the View menu and select it again. The next folder is the Outbox. The Outbox holds the messages that we write until we connect online and actually send them. It's like the middleman that holds our parcels until the mail truck runs. This list should be empty when we've connected and sent our messages. The next folder is Sent Mail. The Sent Mail folder contains a record of each piece of mail that we've ever sent. It's a powerful feature to have when we want to look up what we've sent to someone. The Deleted Messages folder contains any piece of retrieved mail that we've deleted. It's like the trash on our desktop, in the sense that it holds an item we delete until we decide to permanently delete it. This folder is a handy place to hold messages that we've received. We don't necessarily ever have to delete a message, so if we want, we can hold messages in this folder that we've already read. The Drafts view allows us to store messages that are not yet ready to be sent. To use drafts, all we have to do is start a message, then choose Save from the File menu. For example, we may begin creating a new email message and find that we don't have time to complete it. If we choose to save the unfinished message, it will be stored in the Drafts folder until we can complete and send it at a later time. This way, we always know where to look for our unsent messages. The Contacts folder is next. It holds an address book of all people we send mail to or have received mail from. We can store individual addresses here or groups of addresses. The first time we select the Microsoft Newsgroups folder, a dialog box will appear asking if we would like to download a list of Microsoft Newsgroups from the server. Just choose No for now because we don't wish to subscribe at this time. We don't see the dialog in this window because we visited the Newsgroups list before. Newsgroups are companies, groups, or individuals who regularly send messages about certain topics. The range of topics is practically infinite. If we looked, we'd find newsgroups about everything from sports to finance to product updates and much, much more.
Anytime we want to be kept abreast of a certain subject, the first thing we should do is subscribe to a news group dedicated to that subject. So if we want to keep in touch with the botany community, we should subscribe to newsletters for that. On the other hand, if we want to keep in touch with wrestling, we should subscribe to a newsletter for it.
The advantages of subscribing to a news group are that the news mailers are typically sent on a regular basis. This may even be daily. So for regular information about a specific subject, do look into news groups. Find them by searching the internet and word of mouth. The last folder we see is 411. 411 is useful for finding email addresses. We use it by entering the criteria, then going online to find matches. While the folder list is displayed, we only have a small area in which to view the contents of a folder. For example, let's select the inbox. It's apparent that the list of messages we see can only take up a portion of the window. To see the folder most fully, we can choose not to view the folder list. We'll open the View menu, then deselect Folder List. Notice how the inbox now takes the entire width of the window. To view the list again, we open the View menu, then choose Folder List. A faster way to see a full view of a window is to simply double-click the folder we wish to see instead of single-clicking it as we've been doing. For instance, we'll double-click the Outbox. Notice how the folder list is no longer viewed and the Outbox takes the width of the window.
You may pause the tape now to practice on your computer.
Let's review what we've covered in this chapter. We learned what electronic mail is and the fundamentals of how it works. We identified the components of the window, then discussed the folders list.
We learned how to adjust our view and how to open a window or select a different window.
Sending email has a long list of advantages. These include the turnaround time, cost effectiveness, accessibility, and widespread use by a majority of people. So with all this going for us, let's jump on the bandwagon and send some email. To send an email message with Outlook, we can choose New Mail Message from the File menu, press the Command key +N, or click the New tool in the Outlook bar. Let's click the New tool located first from the left on the toolbar. This displays the message window, which is currently untitled because we haven't entered a subject for this email yet. Let's discuss the components of this window. At the top we have the title bar followed by the toolbar, then fields for this piece of mail. We can consider these fields to be the same as the address on an envelope. At the top we have our account. Keep in mind that the account you see on your computer will be different from ours depending on the name of the account. The next field is priority. It's pretty standard to leave the priority as normal here. But if we have an urgent message that someone needs to check immediately, then we can set this for a high priority. We'll set this message as high just to see what happens. The To box allows us to type the names of the people we want to send our message to. To send a message to more than one person, we separate the names with semicolons or commas. So that we can confirm this mail actually being routed to the person we're sending it to, we're going to add our own address in the To field. This way we don't need to ask anyone if they got our message. Remember to add your own address here instead of the one we're entering so that you'll get this piece of mail. And so we can see what happens when we send a piece of mail to more than one person. We'll add another address. In order to enter the second address, we simply type a semicolon after the first address. Now we could add as many addresses as we want, but we'll just add one more. Make this one your own choice. We'll enter the address of a friend. Keep in mind that you'll want to use an address of your own to follow up with the recipient.
When entering an email address, we should be very careful to enter all addresses correctly. If even one letter or character is wrong, the message will either be sent to the wrong address or won't be sent at all.
Continuing down the new message, the next field is CC. The CC field is simply carbon copy. Use the CC box for the address of people we want to send a carbon copy of the message to, if there are any. We'll enter another friend's address here. The names of our addresses we place in the To and CC boxes will appear in each recipient's message window. This means that everyone who receives the message will know who the message was sent to and who the message was copied to. This brings us to where we can be more private. If we want to send a copy of the message to someone else without their address appearing in the recipient's message window, we can place the address in the BCC box. BCC stands for Blind Carbon Copy. To see how it works, we'll place another friend's email address in this field. But when we actually receive the message, we'll see that the BCC field is not shown to us as the recipient. Finally, this brings us to the subject field, where we should type a description for the topic of the message. We'll enter Email Test. Notice that when we do this, the title for this piece of mail reflects the subject instead of Untitled. Below the subject line is the text area where we type the message. Let's press the Tab key to place the insertion point in the message area. Let's type Test, just delete this message. With this completed, we are finished composing our first piece of mail. Typing the message is just part of electronic messaging, because if we don't send it to the recipients, it won't go anywhere. To send mail, we can click the Send tool on the toolbar, choose Send Message Now from the message window, or press the Command key plus the K key. We'll click Send. At this time, we'll log on to our mail connection so the mail can be sent unless we're already online, perhaps through a network connection. The progress box in our window shows when the mail has been sent. Once we've sent our message, we're likely to be curious as to whether or not this email thing really worked or not. Fortunately, there are several methods of verification. The most obvious would be that we'd see the message we sent to ourselves in the inbox. But depending on how we've connected, this may or may not have happened yet. In our case, it hasn't. So let's check the Outbox. When we send a message, it's temporarily placed in the Outbox before being delivered to its recipients. This is especially true for someone on a network that is constantly connected to the mail server and can send or receive messages without the hassle of connecting, as we've just seen.
Keep in mind that through Preferences, Outlook can be set up to send messages immediately or to check for new messages based on a time schedule.
Another way to verify that mail has been sent is by using the Sent Mail folder. We'll look at the Outbox and the Sent Mail folder in our next computer exercise. Let's open the Outbox and see if our message has been delivered. We click this folder and see that it's empty, meaning that there isn't any mail waiting to be sent. If we have mail in the Outbox, we can send it by manually sending mail. Now let's look at the Sent Mail folder. Notice that the most recent item sent was Email Test. Also notice that it has a red exclamation mark beside it to denote that it was of high importance. Because our message appears here, we know that it was sent. If we're connected to our mail server through a network, Outlook will automatically send outgoing mail and check for new messages every 10 minutes, unless we set the time schedule differently.
In our case, we sent the mail manually because we are connecting through a modem. When we connect with a modem, we should also connect to receive mail. In the next computer exercise, we'll learn how to receive mail.
To connect and download the mail we've received from the mail server, we can open the Tools menu, select Send and Receive, then Receive All from the flyout. Keep in mind this may take a few moments. Our message now appears in the inbox. While the message is selected in the list of mail at the top, we can see the contents of the message in the preview pane below. The preview pane is most useful for viewing the contents of the message, but the only other information we find is who the message is from and the subject. To see more, such as who also received the message, we can view the entire piece of mail. This can be easily done by double-clicking the mail from the inbox. Now the message appears in the full window and we see everything, similar to when we wrote the message. We see all the people who received the message in the To line and in the carbon copy line, but the blind carbon copy line does not appear, which means that we can't tell if anyone received a blind carbon copy of the message. We can also see who sent us this message in the From line. To close the mail we're viewing, we'll click the Window's Close button. This will close the viewing window, but keeps the piece of mail in our inbox.
You may pause the tape now to practice on your computer.
Let's review what we covered in this chapter. We learned how to compose a message and how to send it to more than one person. We learned what the message fields do and entered a To address, carbon copied the message, and discussed blind carbon copy.
We sent and received mail. Another perk of email is that it makes sending a file to someone fast. We can attach any file just as long as it isn't too big. Our size restrictions are primarily based on the capacity of the mail server the recipient uses. A typical maximum is around 1 kilobyte.
So you ask, what can we attach? Well, the answer is just about anything. We can attach office documents, graphic images, audio clips, and even video clips.
We can use this feature anytime we need to quickly send a file to someone. This may be so we can send a report from Excel, a resume from Word, a presentation from PowerPoint, a funny picture, scanned images of our kids, or any other file. Let's create a new piece of mail so we can attach something to it. First, we click the New tool to display a new untitled message. Now we'll type our own address in the To field. Now we'll tab to the Subject field and enter Attachment Test, then tab to the actual message area. When adding an attachment, we always add it to the message area. We can attach by either opening the message menu and choosing Add Attachments, or by clicking the Add Attachments tool. It's the button with a paper clip. We'll click this tool to display the Insert dialog box, from which we select the file to insert. We'll insert the learning file that we saved to the desktop, called Editor Rates Worksheet. We select it, then choose Add. This file now appears in the bottom box, which displays all the files to be attached. Now let's attach another file called Hands-On Autofill by double-clicking it. It too appears in the box at the bottom. To insert these files, we'll click the Done button. Both files now appear at the bottom of the email. Since our attachments were Excel files, the icon representing them is for Excel. Now, while we have these in our window, let's just suppose that we need to look at one of the files before sending it for verification. This is as easy as double-clicking the icon to execute it. Let's double-click Editor Rates Worksheet. Notice how this opens Excel and the worksheet. Now that we've seen how this works, let's close the Excel window by choosing Quit from the File menu. Notice that this leaves the attachment intact. It's still good to go. As another tip, we can also delete a message from the piece of mail if we decide not to attach it. For instance, suppose we don't really want to attach the Hands-On Autofill file. To delete it, we'll hold down the Control key, then click the file icon. From the context-sensitive menu that appears, we'll choose Delete Attachment. The attachment no longer appears in the document.
For anyone who is sending mail using a modem, it can become cumbersome to wait while Outlook connects to the mail server, then sends messages individually. This is when the Outbox will become especially useful.
To send mail to the Outbox so we can send the messages to their recipients at a later time, all we have to do is select this in our preferences. If we were to select the Send button right now, our message would be immediately sent to the recipient. Because we want to postpone sending it for a short while and place this piece of mail in the Outbox, we need to adjust our preferences. So first, let's go to the Outlook window by opening the Window menu and selecting Outlook Express. Doing this won't send our message, it only changes the view. Now we open the Edit menu and select Preferences. The Preferences window now takes the right half of the window. From the list on the left, we see several items with their own preferences. These include Accounts, Outlook Express, Network, and Receiving Files. Outlook Express is currently selected with its sub-item General. On the right side, we see the Mail and News settings preferences. This is where we find the reason why our mail is sent directly to the recipient instead of stored in the outbox. The fifth item down is Send Messages Immediately, and it is selected. By clicking the checkbox to deselect this, we are telling Outlook to store the mail in the Outlook box until we say it's time to send it. With the item deselected now, let's choose OK. Then open the Window menu and choose Attachment Test so we can see the message window again. Finally, let's send this message by clicking the Send tool. Then while back in the Outlook window, we notice that the Outbox contains one message. With the Outbox selected, we see the message we just composed in the list of messages in the Outbox to the right. Another interesting thing is that this piece of mail has a paperclip, which indicates the attached file. The paperclip is a clear giveaway that we have an attachment to the mail. As we've already seen, attaching a file to email is really quite simple, but we should be aware that it is fairly common to have trouble sending an attachment from time to time.
For example, the recipient may not be able to open the file, they may not be able to receive the email, or they may not be able to view the file properly.
If the recipient isn't getting the mail at all, we should first make sure we're sending the mail to the correct address. So try sending the mail without the attachment to see if they receive it. This is a process of elimination.
If our plain mail is reaching the recipient, then we know the problem is with the attachment. In most cases, this means the attachment is too large and won't pass through the mail server.
Our solution is to zip the files we're attaching, then attach the zip file. By compressing the attachment, it will probably be small enough to pass. We can also try separating the attachments into multiple emails. If the attachment is still too large, we should try using FTP or just snail mail the file. If the recipient can't open the file, it is probably because they lack the proper software on their computer. First, try saving the attachment in a common file format, such as text, if it's a Word document or even Excel. It's easy to see what file formats a program will support by looking at the types of files in the Open or Save dialog box.
If the file loses its formatting when we send it, we could be out of luck. But as a last resort, we can try copying the contents of a file, then pasting it into the message block of our email.
You may pause the tape now to practice on your computer.
Let's review what we covered in this chapter. We learned how to attach a file to a message, how to send a message immediately or send it to the Outbox instead, and how to troubleshoot file attachments.
We've already learned how to send email messages and attachments with Outlook, so in this chapter we're going to learn what to do when we receive email.
We'll also examine the settings for receiving and replying to messages, then learn how to respond to email messages.
We've briefly covered reading an email message already, so we know that all we need to do is look in our inbox. So we can see new mail, let's first send our existing mail in the Outbox as well as receive new mail. We do this by opening the Tools menu, then choosing Send and Receive. From the flyout menu that appears, notice that we have options to send and receive all messages, receive all, or send all messages. We'll choose Send and Receive All so that we send what's in the Outbox as well as receive new messages. The Progress and Remote Access status dialog boxes appear while the mail is sent and received. Notice we can see how many messages are sent and how many are received. When sending mail to ourselves for test purposes, we may find that our mail is being sent but not appearing in our inbox. If this occurs, it is because our mail server hasn't completed both steps at once. To receive the mail, simply choose Receive All again. Once our mail is received, we can see it in the inbox. We should note that all unread messages are bold. Also note that the inbox shows the number of unread messages in the inbox. Currently, this is 4. Let's go to the mail we just received, called Attachment Test. We know this message has an attachment because the inbox displays a paperclip beside all mail with attached files. To open an attachment, we'll go to the preview pane below. At the right side of the preview pane is another paperclip. When we place our pointer over the tip, Get Attachments appears. It's important to know, regardless of the number of attached files, the Get Attachments icon will only be displayed once for all the files. So if there were 3 files attached, we wouldn't see 3 paperclips or anything like that. The attachment icon and the black arrow drop-down list acts as one. By clicking, we see the drop-down list with an option to open all the attachments or to select the name of the specific attachment we want to open. Notice Editor Rates Worksheet appears here because it's the only file that is attached. Never open a file attachment from someone you don't know. It could contain a file infected with a virus. Let's click Editor Rates Worksheet to open it. The application and its program now open. In our case, this is Excel 98 and the Editor Rates Worksheet.
This brings us to another question. What should we do with attached files?
When we receive an attachment, we can do just about anything we want to do with it. We can print it, save it to our computer, edit it and send the file back, pass the file to someone else, or just store it with the message.
Most all of these options will deal with working with the application that the file has been opened within. This includes printing, saving, or editing.
Let's work with this attachment. Because the file uses Excel, it means we need to know how to use Excel. Let's begin by editing the attachment. We'll change the number in cell B4 to 4 instead of 3, then press Enter. Now that we've edited the document, let's save it. We open the File menu and choose Save As. To save this file to our desktop, we'll select the Desktop button. Now we'll rename the file Edited Attachment, then press Return to save the file. If we wanted to print the file, we'd simply choose Print from the File menu or the toolbar. But we've done all that we care to with this attachment, so let's close Excel by choosing Quit from the File menu. This returns us to Outlook. Notice the attachment test message is still here. Even after we've viewed an attachment, the file and the attachment are still intact in our inbox. To prove this, let's click the attachment icon and select Editor Rates Worksheet again. The file opens just as it did before. The numbers are unchanged. Now that we understand the attachments stay with the mail, let's quit Excel by pressing the Command key plus Q. Excel is now closed. Anytime that someone sends us a message and we'd like to reply to their remarks, we can. Let's reply to the attachment test message. With it selected in the inbox, we click the Reply button. A window called RE:attachment test now appears. The RE stands for Reply. At the top of the window, we see our account, the priority, the fields for To, carbon copy, blind carbon copy, and subject. In any reply message, the To field will contain the address of the person who composed and sent the mail to us. If we want to copy or reply to any other people, we would enter the addresses here. For this exercise, we'll limit this to the reply address, which is our own. In the actual message area, we see the insertion point at the top, followed by the message we're replying to. Having the original message below is a nice feature, but if we don't want reply messages to contain the original message, we can change it from our preferences. For now, let's make our reply message attachment worked. Now click Send. This is how we reply to mail. To verify this worked, we'll press the Command key plus K for Send All Mail. This connects us and sends the mail. Now we'll press the Command key plus M for Receive All. The reply to message now appears in our inbox. The RE: that precedes the subject of the message will appear for all replies. This is how we know the message is a reply.
Another action we will want to use with our mail is forwarding the message. This allows us to send the mail to someone else. And we can, of course, add an additional message of our own at the top, just like in a reply.
It's most common to forward mail when it's been directed to us, but really should have been directed to another person, or when we would like to get an opinion from another person and want them to see the entire message intact from the sender. Forwarding mail is just like replying, with the exception that we send the piece of mail to someone other than the composer of the original piece of mail. Let's select the original attachment message and forward it to someone by clicking the Forward tool. The window changes to FW: Attachment Test. The FW stands for Forward, as we might imagine. Here we see all the typical fields expected for sending a message, but the To field is empty. Let's enter our own address here so we can confirm the forwarded message works, but we'll also add a comma, then another address of our choice. For the subject, we'll leave Forward Attachment Test. In the message window, let's type Forwarding Test. Now to send this message, we'll press the Command key plus K. This message is now placed in our Outbox. Another common thing to do with email we've received is to delete it. We should delete any mail that we don't want to keep, such as junk mail, or any piece of mail that we don't want stored in our inbox. Deleting mail is as simple as selecting the message we wish to delete, then choosing the Delete command. For instance, let's select Email Test, then press the Delete key. The message is automatically placed in the Deleted Messages folder. We can confirm this by going to the Folders list and selecting Deleted Messages. Notice that Email Test appears here. All messages will remain in the Deleted Messages folder until we delete them from here. However, if we keep the option to empty the Deleted Messages folder upon quitting Outlook, then they will automatically be deleted when we quit Outlook. To restore a message from the Deleted Messages folder, we simply select the message, then hold down the Control key and click the message to display a context-sensitive shortcut menu. From this menu, select Move To, then the folder we want to move the message to. Let's select Inbox. When we select the inbox, we see Email Test appears here. But we really want to delete this message, so with it selected, let's click the Delete tool. Now select the Deleted Messages folder to verify that it is here. To truly delete a message so that there is no longer a record of it, we select the message in the Deleted Messages folder, then delete it from here. With Email Test selected, we press Delete. An alert box appears asking if we want to permanently delete this message. We'll choose Yes. It is now removed from Outlook. This concludes our deleting exercise, so let's select the inbox again. Reading messages is as simple as looking in our inbox. For instance, let's select the message called Re-Attachment Test. With it selected, we see its contents in the preview pane below. However, when our inbox becomes cluttered with mail that we've read and unread mail, it doesn't seem as clean-cut. One solution is to make our inbox longer. We can do this by deselecting the preview pane below. Let's open the View menu and choose Preview pane to deselect this. Without the preview pane below, we have more room to see a longer list. To view it, we'll open the View menu and choose Preview pane again. Another way to make viewing mail easier is to only view the messages that are unread. We can do this by opening the View menu and selecting Unread Only. Now the only messages we see are the ones that are bolded and unread. We'll press Command plus M once to send our mail, then again to receive it so we can see an unread message. To turn off Unread Only, we simply open the View menu and select this command again. Now we see all the mail in the inbox.
You may pause the tape now to practice on your computer.
review what we covered in this chapter. We learned how to open an attachment in mail we've received and how to save it or print it if we want.
We learned how to reply to email, forward it, delete it, and how to view unread messages only.
That concludes this video tutorial, Outlook 98.
We've covered a lot of information in this tutorial. If you feel the need to review, simply rewind the tape and watch that section again until you're comfortable with the material.
Please feel free to contact us about our video tutorials. Our worldwide website address is www.viagrafix.com. Send your questions or comments on this tutorial via email to admin@viagrafix.com. For sales questions or to place an order, email sales@viagrafix.com.
We at ViaGrafix would like to thank you for choosing our company for your computer training needs.
Remember, if you plan to learn Outlook or any other computer software, there is no better way than through video training with ViaGrafix.